What's going on, everybody? It's LaMuerteBlanca, and for the past week, Borderlands 3 has been out. And if you're anything like me, you've been running around these Borderlands shooting and looting your ass off. I'm going to take a little bit of time from that grind because I had one more character build that I wanted to drop. However, I didn't have a chance to do it prior to the game releasing. So here we go. A Moze build, and I call it the Flame Shield. The reason why I call this the Flame Shield is because this is all about Moze's shield. And then there's a bunch of other perks on top of that go very well together in order to boost her incendiary damage. This would be a great build if you're a big fan of tank classes. You want to be able to absorb all that damage and not go down. This would be a great build if you want to play Moze and you like setting things on fire. Maybe Amara is not your style, but you want to go with the fire elemental. Then Moze might be a good option. I also think that this is a good balance build. So if you like to go the soldier class and you want to do something that's a little bit more balanced, meaning you want to have those defensive and those offensive perks, a lot of these defensive skills that we're going to talk about not only buff her defensively, but there are also ways that they improve her offensively as well. So I do think this is a great balance build if you don't want to go straight explosive or bottomless mags. Before we jump straight in with this build, there are a couple different ways that you can do Iron Bear's abilities. As you can see here, I went with the railgun, which fires an electrified high velocity projectile that deals shock damage. I modified that to make it incendiary damage, and you'll see why in a second. I also went through and added Salamander. So Salamander is a flamethrower that deals incendiary damage to enemies at close range, and then went ahead and augmented that with reduces Salamander's fuel drain. Additionally, Iron Bear's movement speed is increased after damaging an enemy with Salamander. If you like Salamander, you can double up on Salamander and then you can still use this build. However, if you rather go with dual railguns or you like railgun and melee, I would suggest something with fire based on all the perks that I'm about to show you. But if you don't like Salamander and you want to go dual incendiary railguns instead, there are a couple different options when it comes to Iron Bear's various weapons and augments. That's why I went with the railgun and the Salamander. It adds a little bit of versatility to this build. If you want to go dual railguns and keep your distance and try to snipe people with the railguns, great, go railguns. If you're more of an in-your-face type character, great, go Salamander. If you want the best of both worlds, then you can copy this build perk for perk, and then you'll have the close range Salamander and then the hard-hitting long-range railgun. So it's all about really how you want to build it. But again, this is why I went with this, just to show you that there is a little bit of versatility to this build based on the distance of your preferred combat. Jumping straight into Moze's perks, we're starting with Armored Infantry. While Moze's shields are active, she gains damage reduction and increased gun damage. So this is a great perk. Not only does it help you defensively, but also offensively, and it's while your shields are active. You can have 1 point in your shield and you're still getting 13% damage reduction and 15% gun damage. Not to mention that you're getting that damage reduction, which is actually helping you keep your shield active. So this kind of works on itself, which I think is a great perk, especially for the first line. Then we have Security Bear. Iron Bear gains a bubble shield that reduces damage taken. The shield deactivates if it sustains too much damage, reactivating after a short cooldown. So not only are you getting a shield, but Iron Bear gets a shield as well. Help protect Iron Bear, because if you do decide to go the Salamander route, you are probably going to get a lot of that aggro because you have a giant mech tank in the middle of all of these enemies that you're going to be fighting. Sliding over to Selfless Vengeance. Whenever Moze reloads, she loses a small portion of her health and grants additional incendiary damage to her and her allies' rounds for a few seconds. This might not seem like it's a great perk because you're losing health and all you're doing is gaining some incendiary damage. However, this works twofold as far as synergies go with this build. You'll see as we build out a lot of these skills. Right now, it doesn't look like a lot, but trust me, it will be very helpful later on. Coming into the second line, we start with Thin Red Line. A portion of Moze's health is reserved and cannot be restored, but her maximum shield is increased by the same amount. So this is allowing us to build up our maximum shield, which will then allow us to work on Armored Infantry that much more. With more shield, we get damage reduction and gun damage. The fact that we're reserving a piece of that health, we're not really losing anything, it's just the health is going into the shield, but the fact that we're reserving some of that health, again, is going to help with another perk, very similar to the health that we're losing when we use Selfless Vengeance. Vladoff Ingenuity. Moze's maximum shield is increased and she gains resistance to shock damage. So not only are we getting that resistance, 47%, which is actually pretty good because shock damage will obliterate your shield if you don't have any type of resistance to it, you're also getting 30% max shield. So if you have a turtle shield, or if you have one of those huge capacity shields, plus another 30%, that's going a long way toward Armored Infantry. Again, keeping that damage reduction, keeping that gun damage. Then we jump into the third line and we get experimental munitions. Whenever Moze scores a critical hit, she deals bonus incendiary damage. So as you can see, we're starting to really stack up that incendiary damage. Not only are we getting that from the critical hits from this skill, but we're also getting the incendiary damage that we get every single time we reload. Full cannon whoop ass. Entering Iron Bear causes Moze's and her allies' shields to immediately begin recharging at an increased shield recharge rate. Our shield will be recharging at an extra 25% clip. For 1 point, an extra 25%. That's actually really good. Definitely something that you want to throw on. In the next line, we have Behind the Iron Curtain. Moze's shield recharge delay is reduced and her shield recharge rate is increased. So this is just pure shield buffs that are adding to the max shield and everything else in order to continue to get that damage reduction and that gun damage. That is going to go a long way toward keeping us alive. Over here for desperate measures, Moze's gun damage is increased depending on how low her health is. The lower the health, the greater the increase. This perk specifically is the reason why we went with Selfless Vengeance and the reason why we went with Thin Red Line. We are losing health every single time we reload, which is fine because we already have all of these shield buffs which are buffing the hell out of our shield, and then we also have Thin Red Line which reserves a portion of that health, meaning that we're not going to be able to regain that health, which means that we will always have some type of gun damage buff. It can be up to 50%. If we're really hurting, I think that is going to be an excellent trade-off for anyone trying to build a balanced offensive defensive type Moze character. Second to last line, right before we hit the capstone, we have forced feedback. Whenever Moze scores a critical kill, her shield immediately begins recharging. So critical hits are going to do incendiary damage. If we're able to finish an enemy with a critical hit, we're getting an immediate shield recharge. That again is going to impact our armored infantry with the damage reduction and the gun damage, and at the same time another great way to just keep us alive. If we're hurting or we're getting into that point where we're taking a lot of hits and we're not sure how long we're going to last, shoot the next tink that you see in their giant head, get that critical kill, shield immediately begins recharging. Slide over to Phalanx Doctrine. Kill skill. After killing an enemy, Moze gains a stack of Phalanx Doctrine. For every stack of Phalanx Doctrine, Moze's maximum shield and gun damage are increased. Each stack lasts 30 seconds. The great thing about this, the absolutely amazing thing that I love about this, two things actually, there is no stack limit. So if you're over here just getting kill after kill after kill, you're just getting those stack. 15% max shield per stack and 10% gun damage per stack. So if you see a giant mob and you just get 10 quick kills within that 30 seconds, you're doubling your gun damage. You are doubling and a half your max shield. So another excellent way to not only keep yourself alive, but to stay offensive and aggressive on those enemies in order to take them out faster with extra gun damage. Coming down to the capstone. Tenacious defense. Whenever Moze's shield is fully depleted, she instantly restores a portion of her shield, and her gun damage is increased for a short time. This skill can only be triggered after Moze's shields have fully recharged. So you lose your shield, meaning you're losing the buffs that we're getting from having a portion of our shield, but wait, our shield is instantly being recharged by 40%. On top of that, we're getting a 30% buff to our gun damage, which is actually going to stack on the 15% that we're getting because we restored a portion of our shield. So combine these two, that's 45% extra gun damage, plus the gun damage buff that we're already getting because we are losing some of our health with the other perks, on top of everything else that we're getting with the recharge rate, with the recharge delay, the max shield buffs, everything that we already have. And as you can see, the defensive buffs that we are adding to Moze are going a long way to making us more viable in the offensive game as well. Great way to build a balanced character. So I talked about Flaming Shield. However, we only talked about a couple perks that impact incendiary damage. We're getting additional incendiary damage after we reload, and we're getting critical hits that deal bonus incendiary damage. Big deal. So we come into the next couple of trees, and this is where we really start to see that incendiary damage shine a little bit more. Cloud of Lead. Occasionally, Moze and Iron Bear shots will deal additional incendiary damage and won't consume ammo. So this is another way for us to deal some more incendiary damage, and then a nice little perk on the side of that, not consuming ammo, puts more shots down range, and we don't have to reload as often. But all the incendiary damage that we're doing, whether it be Iron Bear Salamander or the railgun or the random chance we have to do incendiary damage, or the critical hits that we have to do incendiary damage, or the incendiary damage that we're doing after we reload, all comes together when you add Stoke the Embers. Increases Moze's and Iron Bear's incendiary damage by 30%. That's quite a bit. So if you're fighting an enemy with a large health pool, or if you're fighting a mob of the COV enemies that don't have shields or armor, you're going to essentially melt them with Stoke the Embers and all the other incendiary perks that you have. If you decide to forego Salamander, you can go ahead and drop these next two perks that I'm about to talk about and put them somewhere else. But if you want to have a more balanced build with Iron Bear, specifically with the close range and the far range weapons, you're going to want redistribution. After Moze scores a critical hit, she regenerates ammo for a few seconds. So now critical hits not only set things on fire, they're also going to regenerate some of your ammo so you don't have to reload as often. And then we also added Bear, adds a man turret to the back of Iron Bear. Of course, you're not going to want this if you have a solo build. I would take this point and you can put it on match set or scrappy, depending on whether or not you have the same manufacturer for your different weapons and gear. If you do not want to do Bear, and if you did not want to do redistribution because you are foregoing Salamander and want to do the dual incendiary railguns, then you can come over to Fire in the Skag Den and top that off. Whenever Moze deals splash damage, she deals bonus incendiary damage. So not only are we getting incendiary damage from reloads and critical hits, now splash damage gives you incendiary damage. So you're doing incendiary damage from multiple ways, and it's all being buffed by that extra 30% from Stoke the Embers. So you can take one of those skill points, top this off to get the 15% instead of the 12, and then that last extra point, if you really want to, you can throw into Drowning in Brass. This is a good skill that is going to increase your gun damage. I decided to forego it for some of the other incendiary perks and to balance out Iron Bear a little bit, but again, it's up to you. If you want to forego the Salamander and just go incendiary railguns on both arms, you might be able to throw a point in Drowning in Brass, just because that would be the next best option. So guys, that is the Flame Shield build for Moze. Like I said, this is a great build not only for those who like to tank around and have huge shields, but also those that like to have a more balanced build with the offensive and the defense perks, as well as those of you that just want to set shit on fire. Like if you don't like Amara, but you want to do incendiary damage like crazy, this is going to be the way to go. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to drop a like, comment, tell me what you think about this build. The games are out, so I want to know who you picked. Who's your main? How are you building that main? I dropped a bunch of build videos, and I'm really curious to see what you guys ultimately chose. Also, please don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification button so you can catch all the awesome LaMuerteBlanca content we have coming down the pipeline. As I play more Borderlands, I will be dropping more videos, so please be on the lookout for those. You can catch the live stream as I live stream this game, story mode, side missions, challenges. I do plan on 100%ing this game, by the way, as well as all the awesome endgame content as I build up every single one of the characters. You can catch all of that on the live stream on Mixer, Twitch, or here on YouTube. All of the links can be found in the description below. I'm LaMuerteBlanca, and I'll catch you guys next time.